We're not in
Okay.
character share.
Ew.
Too bad.
So sad.
Now, just before we begin, Sherry, Kneale, you both owe Agnes an apology. You both thought she was guilty, but she's clearly not. What do you say?
Fuck you, she's still evil. Shit, you've fallen for the trap.
Do I have to say I'm sorry?
Fuck no.
I don't want to say I'm sorry, but maybe
You're not
help
sorry.
me.
She's evil as shit.
I don't want to
Wow.
say
So
sorry.
aggressive, Kneale. Yikes.
You have fallen for the trap, Callum, and I, your friend, feel bad for you.
I'm still suspicious of her, but she seemed kind of normal in this episode.
No, I'm sus as fuck. I'm sus as fuck.
Oh,
If you
by
count,
the way, happy
you know-
birthday to Tara Strong.
Happy
I love
birthday,
you.
Sarah Strong.
Happy
I
birthday,
apologize
Sarah
for all the
Strong.
fuck words.
Yay. You rock.
love your my Jack.
And Bubbles.
Okay, where were we? Oh, yeah. Fuck you, she's evil.
So I don't have to apologize?
Never.
Cal's giving me the look like
Tell you
I
what, I will apologize if she turns out to be good. But today's episode wasn't enough proof for me. I think she's evil as shit.
Category capitalist. Disney has got so much capitalism in there, we even put the Incredibles title in the cinema. What?
Shut up, Nikki!
Wait, I thought you said we're not going to be in character. We're just dressing up because it's the Halloween episode.
I did! Ah. So, hello everybody, welcome to Disney+Pals.
Hi,
I'm
we're
joined
short
by
one
Cher.
person. She'll be here momentarily, hopefully.
Mel might join later, if not, it's okay though. We were kind of in a hurry today, so we kind of just had to jump.
Watch!
I love the cake.
But
I love my cake too.
Mel did call Agnes being a normal person. However, I don't think she's actually a normal person. So
My dad said the same thing. He's like, I don't think Agnes is behind this. I'm like, look, and here's the thing. Usually, when there's a bad guy character, the names in the credits, they're usually the last person named. Usually. Not all the time. Just usually. Whenever there's an antagonist, they're usually named last. Usually. Not all the time. Her actress, Catherine Ha, she's listed last.
Well, plus, I guess we're going straight into the episode. Real fast, I'm going to do a little recap because apparently people want my little abridged recaps back. Last episode, we discovered Quicksilver is around, but it isn't the Quicksilver we're familiar with. It's the other Quicksilver we're familiar with. If you've seen the X-Men movies, you would know that Evan Peters' version of Quicksilver is now in WandaVision and playing the character of Pietro Maximoff. This is obviously a big change.
That's the question.
And in this 90s sitcom parody, which...
Wait, is it Malcolm in the Middle? Are they parodying Malcolm in the Middle?
Yeah, they're straight up doing Malcolm in the Middle.
I love Malcolm in the Middle.
And a little bit of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Just like a little.
This has nothing to do with the episode, but I want to tell you a fun fact. Malcolm is English for Callum. Callum is actually Gaelic for Malcolm.
So
Great to know.
So your name is actually Malcolm?
In English?
You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss
Callum,
of me.
I don't like that we've learned this so late into our friendship. I think you're going to end up being a villain.
Well, to quote Twilight Sparkle, who's voiced by Tara Strong, by the way, happy birthday, Tara. Friendship is magic.
You're going to be a villain. There it is. Callum's Mephisto. Callum's Satan.
What? Like I said, the only Satan I know is either the Tim Curry one, which I know a lot of people say he's not really the devil, but based on what he looked, on his design alone, he looks like the devil. And Tom Ellis. I love Tom Ellis so much. He's hot, even though he's in his 40s.
Tom Ellis is hot.
I love you, Tom Ellis.
Okay. So the plot of the episode mostly is that it's Wanda coming to grips with Quicksilver being back. Vision is finally tries to step out of Westview, which doesn't end up going well. Darcy and the gang, which is what I'm just going to call it now, they figure out some stuff specifically with Hayward. What was that?
Assistants assemble. Yes.
So is Hayward the bad guy?
Well, I think he's one of them for reasons we'll talk about later.
Sorry. Malfunction.
You're okay.
Ours. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, just keeping going. The episode continues. The episode continues. I gotta get through this recap, guys.
Sorry.
The episode continues, and Wanda essentially figures out what's going on. It's a big Halloween episode. Vision sees the cracks, speaks to Agnes, air quotes, in her normal form. Tries to step out of Westview, and the only way that Wanda can save Vision is to make Westview bigger, which ends up encompassing Darcy, while Jimmy Woo and Monica Rambeau get away, and Monica might have powers and be a mutant? We gotta talk about that.
Okay. As
Yeah,
Wanda,
they set up that she might be a mutant.
WandaVision is expanding their horizons, quite literally in this case.
I mean, to be fair, like, I knew from the beginning we were gonna get some cool-ass stuff with Quicksilver. Like, you don't make a show about Scarlet Witch
without Quicksilver.
And not throw Quicksilver in there. And plus, with the character, like, being dead, it just gives them so much control to, like, do weird shit like this. That being said...
Quicksilver.
I don't trust Quicksilver. I want to trust him, I don't.
He's a puppet. Or something.
I don't think... Here's the thing. I am now convinced that Vision and Quicksilver are not actually dead bodies that Wanda is puppeting, because it makes no sense for that version of Quicksilver to be full of bullet holes. So I think that's just something in her mind, like her psyche. Like, she's imagining people like that. They aren't actually corpses. Which, to be fair, it's a Disney show, so we should have probably assumed they weren't actually corpses.
Oh, like, come on. If Disney can show freaking Don't Look Under the Bed, Mr. Boogie, and some Nightmare Before Christmas, and what's that other dark one? There's a lot of dark.
Fire! Dark fire! Yeah,
Black Cauldron.
Yeah, but I think that, like, you know...
Wicked This Way Comes, that's a natural Disney movie.
I think this honestly would have been the creepiest one, though, just because, like, you know, Wanda has kids with Vision. And if you're like, he was a corpse this whole time, that's kind of fucked up. But, moving forward past necrophilia, what did you guys think specifically of Quicksilver as a character in this? Did you like him? What did you think? Was it what you were expecting, or was it something else?
He's like Uncle Jesse from Full House, but kind of a douche. Are we allowed to say that word?
We can say douche.
Okay.
There's a strange trend going on around here. Wonder Woman's been doing the same thing Wanda did.
Callum is... Well, we did briefly talk about Callum possibly being Satan.
We think he's Mephisto.
Yeah.
You got me the whole time!
Yeah, especially after what you did to Blue Sky Studios.
Luckily, we haven't started that far, so you're good to just go right in, Belle.
Okay.
We talked about the recap a little, and that's pretty much it. What did you guys think of Quicksilver, though? Did you like Quicksilver? Did you dislike Quicksilver? It's obviously kind of a new take mixed with, like, two old takes, so I'm curious what you guys think.
Uncle Jesse, that's all I have to say.
It was a little Uncle Jesse-ish. Like, It was also like that one character from Malcolm in the Middle, which felt like the main inspiration for this episode. I think he kind of nailed the asshole brother.
I was leaning more towards that since it was definitely Malcolm in the Middle style a lot. So I'm gonna have to like lean towards the fact of it being like, yeah, that's definitely the older brother from Malcolm in the Middle.
It did have one or two Uncle Jesse moments though, specifically when like he's just waking up and he chooses to chase the kids and scare them. I think that was a good like, hey, look, it's our lovable, goofy older brother character. Cal, what did you think?
Yeah, Pietro, for the sitcom setting works very well. Bounces off really well with the kids, which can make for some great character building. I mean, of course he bounces off well with the kids. He's that particular version of Quicksilver. I mean, we haven't seen much of the other version of Quicksilver, to be fair, so maybe my praises to this particular version are a bit biased. I don't know. But either way, he's working well with the kids, and apparently one of the kids has Quicksilver's superpower now.
Yeah, so Tommy in the comics. Oh, go ahead, Mel.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing that you were about to say was Tommy in the comic books has the same powers as Pietro does, and same with the other brother who gets the powers similar to, like, even though technically, their vision's kids by magical spooky, Mephisto interfering moments in the comics, but yeah, that's how they become like the young Avengers.
For some reason, I thought Melissa was about to say spooky, scary skeletons.
Skeletons bring shivers down your spine.
Too bad Mr. Bones not here. I'm sorry, Mr. Bones is hibernating right now. He doesn't come out till Halloween.
Well, I like seeing the kids' powers. I do think they were a little underplayed, although I did love how excited Quicksilver specifically got about it, where he goes, you're a chip off the Maximoff block, and like, I gotta be real, I don't fucking trust this dude. I don't know if he's Quicksilver. There's something about him I'm just not trusting, and it sucks because this character has so much charisma in the X-Men movies, and he's so cool, and his scenes are like the best parts of those movies. I'm just looking at him here and looking at his behavior, and I'm like, dude, you might be the devil. Did you
make the claim the last episode that you guys thought that Quicksilver was Mephisto in disguise or something?
Yeah, that's a theory that we had. I am leaning towards it, but I'm still like for example, I was right about Angie not being Agatha.
Oh,
I she was not trustworthy. But still, like, I even mentioned, like, with all my theories so far, is like I could possibly be wrong. Like during the Angie moment, I was just like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe that is Agatha. But the moment he unbrainwashed her from whatever heck she's on, confirmed it of being like, yeah, she's not up to anything. I think it's all coincidental, or maybe it was like Wanda's self-conscious of why she was acting the way she was in the previous episode.
Here's the thing.
So Matt,
I should apologize or not. I don't know. Trying to make us apologize in the very beginning.
Go ahead, Callum. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, would you like Scream called it once again?
Hold on. Before she does it, hold on. There are 3 more episodes left, and I would like to take the opposite side and say Agnes is still evil.
Okay, on one side,
Kneale.
says that Agnes is the Antichrist. On the other hand, Mel is saying Agnes
she's the Antichrist. I think she's bad. I think she's evil still. I do not think she is Mephisto. Here's the thing. I get it. There's a billion reasons. Like, obviously, in that moment, yes, she was like freaking out. I still don't trust her. There's something about her.
I made a claim earlier that I know this isn't what always happens, but whenever you see the credits and you list off each actor that plays the character, the villain is usually named last. Usually, not all the time. Catherine Hahn, who plays Agnes, is listed last. I know it's not. Oh, that doesn't really prove anything, but I'm just saying. She's listed last.
I mean, here's the thing. I couldn't help but notice when Norm got freed in the last episode, he kept saying stuff like, she's in our head. She's controlling us. And obviously he never said Wanda's name. But in this episode, Agnes says Wanda's name a lot. Almost to a point of denial. Where I'm just sitting there like, you sons of bitches, you're trying to throw us under the bus. Her and Herb are clearly more aware than everybody else, but there's something still going on with that girl. Why did Sparky die in her life?
Something wicked this way comes. And we all better be prepared.
I mean, you could be right. They could be throwing like a red herring at us, trying to throw off the trail, especially since like Quicksilver was acting extremely suspect or sus in Among Us terms. I love that game. And people
the game lately too, yeah.
But like that is possible. I will give like Kneale that bone. Like I said, I still could be wrong, but also too, you gotta think about it this way. Not everybody's created equal in this like little world, though. Like they might be more aware of what's going on, but also too, you could argue with what was her name? Who's pretty much going to be the Miss Marvel?
Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, Monica Rambeau. Thank you. I don't know why I was spacing her name, but Monica was acting different, even though she wasn't in there when she got sucked in. Like if you notice, like each character acts different, and I think it depends on how well they're under the buzz with Wanda's spell right now. Like you don't know if being like, especially like it's been shown towards the end that she can expand her universe if she wanted to. So you don't know like who all has been affected in different ways. So I'm saying that there's still a chance that you're right, especially since there's just like, yeah, there were some differences, but also too leaning towards the fact that being like everybody acted different, especially like it showed that hugely in the episode where the farther Vision walked away from going towards the barrier, the more strange they acted. So that could also too play a factor in that, being like maybe Agatha was one of the first, or maybe she was recent before. Like, yes, I know that they have like some shit going on, but it's just like Agatha is gonna, or well, not Agatha, Agnes is gonna play a huge part in it because she was the one who confirmed it with Vision of being like, you're technically dead, dude.
I think that this episode, I think this episode gave us motivation for Agnes and Mephisto. Again, if Mephisto's even in the show, 7 episodes in or whatever, and we're still saying if Mephisto's in the show. Right there, it's a good show. But did you guys remember the commercial in this episode?
Be stupid. Yeah, like it brought me like such nostalgia because like, yeah, in the 90s as a kid, majorly, yeah, that's how 90s commercials were back in the day. But how dark it was though, of being like, what the actual fuck? Like the kid couldn't open up the yogurt and so he withers away and dies. It's just like, there was some dark shit in the 90s, but holy shit.
I'm not too familiar with the 90s because I didn't grow up in the 90s. I grew up in the 2000s because I'm a 2000s kid. But that was dark. Oh, we forgot to mention the last commercial from the last episode, the one that looked like Bounty. The Bounty commercial from last episode.
I did mention it briefly that it was a reference to the place where like Scarlet Witch accidentally killed a bunch of people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
There just wasn't a ton to say about that one. It was like, remember this? And it's like, yeah, we remember. With this one, all the other things have been references to events in the MCU. The first one is Stark Tech, probably in reference to the fact that Wanda's family was killed by a Stark missile. The second one was Strucker's Watch, a reference to her getting her powers. And Hydra and Diagos, it's a whole thing, but this episode is the first one that did none of that and was just straight up a clue. The yogurt is called Yo Magic, and the shark is like, oh, I'm always feeding on your magic, or something like that. I think they've told us Mephisto's motivation, or another character's that I'll get to in a second. I think Mephisto saw this weakened area in between dimensions and was like, yo, that's a lot of magic. I can take some of that. And now he is literally feeding on Wanda's magic. I also think that the character who, this is a bit of a stretchier theory, but there's that little kid who can't get the yogurt open, no matter how hard he tries. I think that might be Hayward. I think he has some sort of connection through Vision and maybe Mephisto himself that he needs to figure this out, and if he doesn't, he'll die. I don't know. That's just what I'm reading by the visuals I've been given. But I think confirmed now something is trying to take Wanda's magic. Whether that be Mephisto or Nightmare or, I don't know, maybe freaking Agnes. The commercial makes no sense unless it has some sort of connection to the story.
Mephisto starts dark.
I think your theory might be stretching it, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. But the one thing, no, you're right, because like each other commercial beforehand was a reference to Wanda's life in some way. This one clearly wasn't, or at least not in past text. But also too, like I'm leaning more towards the Mephisto theory more so. Only for the simple fact that like when she was talking to Pietro, when Pietro like started, revealing he knows a little bit too much for him being gone for so long. And she was just like, yeah, I was just in a really dark place. And the next thing you know, bam. So it at least confirms that Wanda's not pulling the all the strings. Like she's only pulling maybe like at worst, like I said, like 90% of the strings, but she's not running the show like she thinks she is. I think she's manipulated to think so because like, yeah, I think it is Mephisto trying to give her what she wants. Like even Quicksilver confirmed that of being like, yeah, I just heard you call to me, and the next thing you know, bam, I'm here. Be like, isn't this what you wanted?
I'm just gonna say this now, just in case the ending is disappointing. People, what if Mephisto is not involved whatsoever? Who would you say the source of this all this is?
Too. Well, here's the thing. I think the obvious answer is if Mephisto isn't involved and it's not Nightmare. The obvious answer is Wanda's doing this all herself. Like there is no villain, and the show is just a deep dive into Wanda's character.
Unfortunately, Kneale's right on that because there is no other villain that would be able to do it. Like at least not as close to the comics as this has been playing out to be. So if they were to like go out of left field and say being like, oh, it was Ultron this whole entire time, it wouldn't make sense.
funny
Especially
you
since we saw all-
mention Ultron, because I'm going to be talking about him later.
Noted, but you get what I mean of being like no other villain would have at least a magical prowess to keep her contained like that.
Oh, yeah, if
Without
they,
it-
like, halfway through this fucker go, oh, and actually Thanos is alive, and it was him. That don't make sense.
It would essentially be bullshit, and the show would be ruined. So yeah, the only logical things that make sense being like, if it's not Mephisto or it's not Nightmare, it's Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, this show, like, you brought up, like, setting expectations, Callum. This show needs to end well. That's kind of the big thing. Like, we've been given the episodes 9s and 10s and 8s and stuff. If it doesn't end on a good note, that will all be for nothing, because the whole thing is, with this show, they are slowly feeding you this story. They're slowly revealing to you the puzzle. And if the answers aren't worth it, the show is automatically terrible.
Mm-hmm. And especially with the MCU's reputation on the line. Excuse me, sorry. I need a water.
You want?
Okay, I feel better. But he has a point, especially like with the MCU's reputation, especially since they have been gone for a minute, to get like everybody to cool off, especially with the pandemic going on. And the last thing we saw from them was Far From Home. It would be a shame that they build up all this hype for it to end terribly. You can kiss any project goodbye. Like, look what happened to with Solo, for example. Solo was meant to be different, and it was supposed to help open up other movies that were supposed to be sides. But because it failed so much, they pulled the fucking plug on that, and that's why we got things like Mando. But with the MCU, it doesn't have as much wiggle room.
But before we continue into theories, because honestly, I could talk about these for hours. Let's take a brief break and just go into stuff we liked about the episode, because we've got in comics saying
dying from yogurt opening.
I mean, I do like the yogurt guy, the weird sharky yogurt man. But Callum, did you have anything specific that was like your highlight of the episode or stuff you'd like to talk about?
Well, a Halloween episode from the adverts and what we've been talking about was inevitable, and it kind of delivered, not only with the funny stuff, but also with the spooky stuff. Everyone, for whatever reason, was completely, well, not everyone, but most people were completely frozen, so, okay, what capacity does Wanda have control over these people? Yeah. A lot of people have been comparisons as well. And we get to see Vision finally say, okay, this is my curiosity is driving me nuts now. I need to see what's beyond the barrier. I need to help people. So he actually escapes, and that is a big plot element which gets the story moving forward, and it ends at just the right. Yeah, ends at just the right part to leave you thirsty for more. And most of the crew that tried to rescue everybody are now part of the whole act that Wanda's putting together. So I think it was genuinely quite fun and also very mysterious. So I think it's just as well they made the Halloween episode center around this, if you ask me.
I do agree with you. I like the spooky aspects. I think there were some subtle spooky parts too, like just what is going on with Monica, what happened to Darcy, because with all of the other characters, we got to see them turn into something. Like, we saw a helicopter turn into a hot air balloon. We saw a military tent turn into a circus. We saw the agents turn into clowns.
Soldiers could turn into clowns.
Darcy didn't change at all. She turned into like nothingness.
Well, it cut away from her before, so we might see what she is in the next episode.
Part
She's
of me
still
also,
the car.
I also think it would be cool if she, like, hear me out. I don't want Darcy to be dead, but if she is dead, I think that would be interesting too, because she would essentially be Wanda's first casualty. And I'd really like to see, like, how that fucks with Wanda's mind. Like, the fact that she did kill somebody.
I highly doubt that's going to happen.
Well, I also wonder if now she's going to get superpowers, because she just warned Monica Rambeau about this. Like, it's possible Monica was already a mutant, and maybe it was the fact that she has been repeatedly rewritten by Wanda. But I don't know, man. There's something about the fact that Darcy went in, but Jimmy Woo didn't, that kind of sets with me in a weird way. I don't know. But do you guys have any guesses on who Monica's friend could be that they're reaching out to?
Oh.
I have very little knowledge of Marvel, so I have no idea.
I know this is the easiest answer, but it's really the only answer that pops into my head. I honestly do think it is going to be Captain Marvel, but the only reason I say that is just because there's connections with the two.
Callum,
Obviously.
get your face back. Back.
But no,
You're
but
freaking me out.
before we dive into who we think, I think we should finish up with some people's takes on the episode itself. Sherry can go next.
I agree. The only reason I brought it up now is because I think I have a guess who it is, and it could be the right answer. Just so what they keep saying is it's some sort of engineer, right? So because of that, in my head, I'm like, it's probably not anybody we've seen in the MCU before. People are saying it's Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. If I honestly had to guess, I would say we may get a cameo by Riri Williams. And if you guys don't know who Riri Williams is, she is a character that becomes Ironheart. She's the female African American Iron Man.
That people don't like.
Well, she's getting her own show. She gets better later. She's getting her own show, so it makes sense to give her a cameo.
Right, and I hate to be this person, but I will be this person. I think the only reason, why she was hated was the times, and also, too, for people who are in the minority groups, get the most slack in shit, in comic books and stuff, so I actually think this might be a good time for her to come in, but that's actually a pretty good guess. I actually, was thinking that, but because she is kind of an unpopular character, in my personal opinion, for all the wrong reasons to hate a character, but it'd be kind of cool to see. But if she's getting her own show, it's not out of the realm of possibility, since, obviously WandaVision's building up to the next stage.
I mean, the stars have kind of aligned on Riri. Number one, it makes sense for her to be there in the story. Number two, the actress has already been casted, even though her show isn't till several years down the road. So the fact that they've casted her already means they probably already put her in something. And number three, once again, people are feeling the gap of Iron Man. It makes sense that the first thing in Phase 4, we throw in the next Iron Man.
Love you 3000.
I don't know. I think it probably could be her, but with that, you're right. We should get back into talking about the episode a little bit more. Cher, did you have anything specifically you really loved, character moments you liked, or just stuff with the story that was cool for you?
So I mentioned earlier before we recorded that for some reason I was getting a lot of Frozen vibes.
Do tell.
Explain those a little.
It's kind of hard to explain.
Is it perhaps
It's just that Wanda and Elsa, they are like very similar characters. Both of them went through traumatic events in their lives. Well, Wanda, like multiple traumatic events. And so they kind of go into their own, trying to create this little world for themselves so they can isolate themselves. Isolate. That's what I meant to say. Isolate. Isolate. And when others try to go in, they get irritated and they want to push them back because they want to be left alone because of all the stuff that they caused, and they're so traumatized about that. And like the ending part for some reason reminded me of that one scene in Frozen where Elsa struck Anna's heart, like that little ripple effect thing, whatever, kind of reminded me of that scene. I know it's not really great, but for some reason it just reminded me of Frozen. I don't know. Maybe
Well,
I'm just saying nonsense. I'm just probably saying nonsense.
I mean, Wanda also has a sibling who loves each other very much, so...
I mean, I'll strongly disagree with it, only because, like, one, I'm sorry, I might break some hearts. I hate fucking Frozen. I hate Frozen 2 more.
It's okay.
No, that's a rant for another day. I don't want to get on topic. But yeah, I see where there's, like, some similarities to it. I just strongly disagree just because, just, like, I think, like, Elsa's stuff wasn't as traumatic as Wanda's. Like, Wanda lived in Soviet.
I disagree. I thought that one scene where Kristoff was to be a robot was pretty dope. And of course, when like Olaf tries to leave the barrier of Arendelle and like he gets ripped to pieces.
Olaf doesn't feel so good.
Well, in Frozen 2, that happened. Olaf
I'm
gets
just
Thanos.
saying. I'm
Olaf
just
got
saying. There's a
Thanos.
comparison.
Oh
He
my
got
God.
Thanos, though. But I like the episode overall. I like how Billy, because the kids have similar powers. Well, not similar. They are like the exact same powers as Wanda and Quicksilver. And I like the part where Billy feels that Vision is in trouble, and then Wanda, that ending scene episode.
I mean, I think the fact that Billy now has his magic, I think we can already predict the sitcom plot of the next episode. Billy's going to try to bring Sparky back. And maybe when he tries and fails, Wanda has to reveal what's going on in Westview to her kids.
Is the next episode going to be a 2000 sitcom?
It has to be. It either has to be solely on the outside world, which, to be fair, they do still have Monica and Jimmy out there. They're meeting up with this new character, and Hayward is still out. So we could have another episode that's just outside of the Hex. But if they do it, it will be 2000s. And honestly, I think they're going to start doing Disney Channel sitcoms here in a minute. I just noticed some of the humor in this. Like, it was very Malcolm in the Middle, but it was also very Disney sitcom. Like, I got flashbacks to Billy Ray Cyrus hanging out with...
Flashback. Wait. That's so Raven? Well, I know she predicts the future, but,
It would be cool if Tommy had, like, a That's So Raven moment.
I think that if they are going to, the only part I disagree with is that you have to also remember, a lot of people did not grow up on Disney Channel alone, whether it is like they lived in like really restricted households, or if they, didn't have cable, because back in the day, because I'm a 90s kid, so I have a lot of thoughts with this episode from being like an actual kid from the 90s, but cable was kind of a privileged thing to have back then, of being like your family had to have some bit of money to have cable back in the day. Like, I wasn't rich by any means, but my dad was able to afford like cable until like 3rd or 4th grade. I was one of like maybe 3 kids who had cable at the time.
Well, like 2000s, people like were able to watch Disney sitcoms and stuff, so maybe it makes
2000s
sense.
kid here.
Well, what I'm meaning is that each person has something different. Like, I'm not going to brush on this too long, but I've known a lot of kids who did grow up in religious households who their parents refused for them to watch Disney.
Right.
So it's like
or
each
Nickelodeon,
circumstances,
but mostly Disney.
right? Right. Like each thing would be different. Like, yes, like I think the only one that or the only ones that would be contenders are ones that even kids who lived on like a really restrictive life and did not get to watch Disney or barely got to might at least know. So because like all the references so far are at least like really popular shows that majority of people can stick from a crowd. You know what I mean? And Disney sitcoms are not always that.
I agree. There is an issue here of a lot of people not seeing them. If only there was like some sort of streaming service that Disney is a part of that had them on there. Oh wait.
Well, yeah.
Well,
but
not all of
still,
them. Not
like,
all of them. There's still some from like
Yeah,
the
I
late
know. I'm
90s
just being
and
a
2000s.
little quirky with that joke, but I do think at the very least we could see some That's So Raven, maybe some Even Stevens.
Or Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Or yeah, no, maybe more probably more like early 2000s because I was born in 2000, so yeah, so that's about my age here. Yeah, I was born in 2000, so yeah, definitely the ones I can remember probably the most are Lizzie McGuire, Even Stevens, That's So Raven. Those were like the big 3 in my opinion.
Mhm.
There's also Phil of the Future, but that was like in 2004 though.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I remember Phil of the Future.
I think Phil of the Future would be a little bit of a far stretch because unlike
not everyone knows it.
Lizzie
It was
McGuire
only short-lived. Yeah.
it had a shorter runtime.
Right,
I'm just
Lizzie
thinking of the
McGuire
theme
was like
song
from
now.
2001 to 2004.
The
And
theme
That's So
song is
Raven.
stuck in my head now. It's like the Phil of the Future.
The future.
Well, I think since they're doing it by decades, I think there's still around the possibility that they'll probably at least cover any popular sitcom or any popular like TV show from between 2000 to 2009. Because then we'll have to get to the 10s eventually, and that's if the pattern keeps going.
But like I said, the most popular if we're talking about Disney Channel sitcoms, which I doubt that's what they're gonna do, the most popular ones that I remember the most, like I said, Lizzie, That's the Raven, Sweet Life, which I doubt they're gonna do, Hannah Montana, which I doubt they're gonna do, What's It the Way Really Place, which I doubt they're gonna do. So
Sweet Life really didn't come around till like I was about to hit my teens.
It came out in 2005.
Question.
Yeah.
When did Friends come out?
The 90s, 96.
The 90s. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they lost their chance at Friends.
Yeah, 90. Yeah, it was like 96 to 2004, I think.
That's if they cover it by how they've been doing it before, decade by decade. That's 10 years. I have another theory too that they might change the game a little bit because like Malcolm in the Middle, if I remember right, was early 90s and it ran till like I think I want to say the early 2000s, but they might skip because like and I'm going to take you guys to school of like my generation, okay? So there's a huge difference between older millennials and younger millennials. Like I would be technically considered like kind of closer to the like kind of a mix between like the elder millennials and the younger generation or the younger millennials. But technically like around Gen Z is like I know my sister's a Gen Z.
Probably me.
The you're Gen Z for sure because you're born in the 2000s. But
early 2000s.
But I think the cut. But the 90s were so different depending on what age group you were. And what I'm thinking is that if they want a shot at Friends, they might split the decade in half. They might be covering early 90s or late 90s because there was such a huge difference, especially like closer to the millennia. The millennia was a huge deal at the time. That's just
Friends was a huge deal at the time.
yeah. So what I'm guessing is that if they, especially since they changed the formula in this episode for sure, like there's a lot of tales of being like shit's getting, like if you didn't think that shit was getting real before, it's getting real now. That's my theory, is that they might split up the 90s. That's if they want to do the reference. Otherwise, they're just going to stick to their format of at least covering the next decade in the next episode.
Well, I'm looking it up on my phone to see any sitcoms. A lot of Nickelodeon stuff on here. It's not Nickelodeon, it's supposed to be Disney. What I Like About You, That 70s Show. There was already Malcolm in the Middle.
That 70s show will probably be a thing.
That
I Met Your Mother.
In the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why it's called That 70s Show. It's like a...
It's like
why would you... Like, if you called it That 2000 Show, don't you think that's a little on the nose?
the only reason why
That's the equivalent of me making a show yesterday and calling it the Yesterday Show.
The present.
There's only like one problem I have with like them bringing in the That 70s Show is because of the confirmed evils that one actor did. But yes,
yeah.
you look at your own risk of that. But yeah, that's just my opinion of it, of course. Which I think that'll be too much of a stretch for them to do that. But
I forgot Everybody Hates Chris came out in the 2000s.
That one works. I think that'll happen. Moving on to a couple of the things I thought about this episode. Or do you want to go first, Mel?
I'll let you go first, and then I'll go.
I gotta say it again. I've said it since the beginning. I'll say it till the show ends. I'm loving me Darcy and Jimmy Woo. I adore these characters. I specifically love that Jimmy is the first one to throw a punch when they have to beat up the sword agents, and Monica just goes with it. Like, I love seeing that there's a little hero inside of Jimmy Woo, and that he can fight and hold his own. And meanwhile, there is none of that in Darcy. Darcy doesn't fight back at all, and it's beautiful to see. I feel like Darcy as a character wasn't meant for the Thor movies. She was meant for something like this, and now that she's in something like this, it's so much better. And honestly, it feels like the MCU is course correcting. Like, okay, take that character, put him here, and who do we throw into Thor to replace her? We could put the Guardians of the Galaxy in there. Let's just throw them all in there. Whatever. It's just wonderful to see this character properly be good to the point where I was sad when I thought she could have died. And that is a big statement for somebody who people literally called Marvel's Jar Jar for a little bit. I do love Evan Peters' take. I gotta be real, he's not playing the Quicksilver that we're familiar with. I don't trust him. He's not Marvel's Quicksilver. He's not the X-Men's Quicksilver. He's something in between, and he's something different. I do think it's going to be revealed that at the very least he's being possessed by Mephisto. I don't know. But
well, whatever the case, he's definitely under the influence of whatever spell Wanda's conjured up, yeah.
But is he? Because he seems to be more aware than anybody, including Agnes. It seems like he knows what Wanda's doing and is cool with it.
I noticed that too.
I hate to be this person, but he's literally acting like the devil on Wanda's shoulder. He's literally the one who's like, "No, what you're doing here, it's okay. You should be proud of what you did. You should be
Wait,
impressed."
remember the scene? Remember the scene near like the end where he's like, "Hey, I can't. It's not like I can't die twice, or it's not like he can't die twice." Like that triggered Wanda, and she literally zapped him.
Yeah, and that means. And what's interesting about that is in the last episode, Pietro pretended he didn't know Vision. Like, he saw Vision and he was like, "Who's the popsicle?" So he pretended he didn't know who he was. And then in this episode, not only does he know who Vision is, but he also knows that he's secretly dead, something that even her kids don't know. And apparently Agnes didn't know. I don't know about this shit. There is something going on here.
To make things more suspicious, Wanda brought back the children, as Quicksilver mentioned late in the episode.
I mean, that one seemed okay. Like, he clarified, like, it was like, you probably just made him sleep. Although, I do question that if they were sleeping this whole time, how were they eating? Does the spell cover that?
Hey, if Aurora can go through the same thing.
That's true, too. Aurora should die 3 times over. I don't know. I don't.
You conspiracy. You conspiracy. Wanda is child abducting.
I mean, that's not even a conspiracy. She confirms it this episode. She stole children and made them stay in bed.
Come, little children.
Wanda is now Maleficent now.
Not the witch I was thinking of, but okay.
Wait, what witch were you thinking of?
Any of the ones from Hocus Pocus.
Oh, Sarah. Sarah, Mary Winterford.
Okay, someone needs to sing "Come Little Children" in Sokovian language.
I would like to hear that.
Me too.
But I can't trust him. I love Evan Peters. I love him. His face is beautiful. His costume is cool. But his hair has devil horns, man. He's evil as shit. Everybody is out to get me, and everyone's Mephisto. Everybody in this universe is Mephisto until proven otherwise.
You're gonna take Dipper's approach in Gravity Falls of just not trusting anyone, I take it.
Even your loved ones. Even the ones that you love.
The only person I am 100% sure is not Mephisto is Jimmy Woo. And he's it. And I'm acknowledging that means Hawkeye may be out there somewhere in the world and is Mephisto. I can't trust anyone, man.
So you're basically saying everybody's Mephisto.
Everyone can, is, and could be Mephisto.
Stan Lee is Mephisto. Peter Parker is Mephisto.
Even Talos? Even Talos?
Talos is Mephisto. Stan Lee is Mephisto. Kevin Feige is Mephisto.
Disney already. No offense, Disney. No offense, but everyone's telling you that you're Mephisto.
You mentioned Stan Lee being Mephisto. I thought about the outright conspiracy, which is false, and I will stand by it, of Walt Disney's head being frozen or him being frozen underneath. Being like, what if they actually didn't do that with Disney? What if they did that with Stan Lee this entire time and he comes back as Mephisto?
What if Walt Disney is also Mephisto?
That explains the company, and everyone's saying why the company's corrupted.
The second I accepted that Callum might be Mephisto, everyone was on the table.
Wow, I guess I'm even Mephisto.
All of you are Mephisto. I could very well be Mephisto.
We're all Mephisto.
John could be Mephisto. Darth Potter 7 could be Mephisto.
Freaking
Time
Potter
Lord
could be Mephisto.
Let's be honest here. Ron can't be Mephisto.
Oh, yeah.
You said anyone is on the table. Who the least expect?
Any human. Ron is a sand person hybrid.
But he could also be Mephisto.
You know what? Maybe my greatest ally turns out to be Mephisto.
Ron Sand people could be Mephisto.
Shout out to Ron. Ron is awesome. Even though he
John
might be
Bailey
Mephisto.
is Mephisto.
Wait, it's Tara Strong's birthday. Is she Mephisto?
I don't know anymore. But what did you like about the episode, Belle?
Well,
Mel
okay.
Fisto?
Dun dun dun. but anyway, but as a 90s kid, it brought me a lot of like nostalgic memory, except for like, yeah, that commercial though was just being like, besides the kid literally dying and watching the flesh pretty much wither off the bone, it was a total 90s commercial. Because commercials at the time were like that to a T, of being like the most obscene, like unrealistic thing a kid could be in, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, buy your product and all your problems would be gone. Like they totally sold up, like, and that's why they made like certain laws later, and it was my generation why, because like back in the day, kids wanted that shit even if they couldn't fucking afford it. Or even if they begged their parents to and they said no, like you saw it on TV, you wanted it. There's even still some stuff in the 90s that I wasn't able to get that I still to this very day. So seeing that was pretty radical.
Now that you mention it.
I did like the. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was to say, now that you mention it, did they do that in the 2000s?
It kind of started dying down because, like, fun fact, there were a lot of plays to stop or like to start making commercials shorter. Because here's the thing, like, I can attest to this. My mindset when I was a kid was like 30 to 60 seconds long. They just didn't like it just because like it was pretty much like a somewhat legal form of manipulation to children. But you guys look that up on your own time of that, but no, like it kind of started dying down in the early 2000s. That's why commercials are like somewhat different now than they were back in the 90s. But yes, but that gave me like such nostalgia. And I actually did own some stuff from the 90s from those infomercials alone, like the rainbow paint. Own that shit, and the commercial wasn't like 3D like that one or like clay animation like that one, but that was the energy, was being like, you have to get this. You need it. It will make your childhood so much better. But the other part I really... Oh, sorry, Kneale?
Well, I remember I used to watch this channel that essentially was just a rerun of an older channel. So I did end up seeing like a lot of old commercials that went to nowhere. And I remember specifically this one 80s, 90s, 2000s commercial, which was a ball. And you could like press the ball down and turn it into a frisbee. And the way that they advertised this frisbee ball, they were just that. Like... It was literally like, this is the most fucking important thing in the world. And if you don't have it, hurricanes will rain down from the heavens and you will fucking die.
I remember the squirmy wormy ones. The ones that like the worm where it moves and it was weird. I remember that.
And then the giant bubbles. God damn, those giant bubbles.
Effing bubbles.
Oh, wait. Which they still sell to this very day. I actually am planning on getting one again. I actually have the glow in the dark ones. Like one of the few.
Let's be honest. There will always be appeal for giant bubbles.
Well, yeah.
But... Yeah, as a nostalgia critic would say, effing bubbles.
Fucking bubbles.
Fucking bubbles. But,
who's your favorite Powerpuff Girl?
Mine. Actually, no. Back in the day, mine was Bubbles.
Oh, no, I'm saying mine is Buttercup.
Happy birthday, Tara.
Everybody always assumes, like, being older now is that all of them are my favorite in different ways. But yeah, back when I was a kid, my favorite was actually Bubbles. Buttercup would have been my second favorite. I didn't like Blossom as much, but I liked her. Or I actually got like, because they used to sell them. They were 3 sets of dolls that if you pressed on them, their eyes would actually legit glow. I actually owned the Blossom one.
I used to have Powerpuff Girl watches as a kid.
Wait a minute. A blue character who is emotional and is playing on emotions. A green character who is angry about their situation. And a red character with a pointy thing on their head. Oh my god, Powerpuff Girls is WandaVision.
Powerpuff Girls is manifesto.
But anyway, the episode definitely like took me back to like my childhood. But the one thing I did love about it is the fact that they're now making it obvious that they are going to be throwing red herrings at you, of being like, especially like I am still leaning towards that like I think each person is different, whoever's trapped in it. I think that like, yes, we got Vision who still had his free will. He's pretty much the only character up until Evan's character shows up, who established that, of being like nobody else had free will. Not even the kids, I don't think, but I think like you can excuse the kids as being like they're still young and they don't comprehend that this is all their mom yet. But otherwise, just like, yeah, like, and for each person, depending on how closer they are to the edge, is affected. But I think that's going to be throwing a lot of red herrings out. For sure, especially since he expanded it. I kind of did like the fact that, because there was a point in the episode where I thought being like, oh, they might like end it the next episode. But with her expanding it, it's just like, nope, we're going to get a few episodes more. Or at least like maybe 1 or 2 more of like a sitcom episode. And then shit will actually get real. Like, no more sitcoms, break the fucking barrier, break the illusion. But I did like the fact that Evan knows more, especially. It's not the X-Men version of Pietro. It's not the Avengers version of Pietro. This is definitely something new. But it's also too of being like, well, technically, you've been.
Hello?
Melissa? Uh-oh.
Professor Kirk.
Oh,
I was like extremely selective with memory. What?
We lost you for a minute.
Hello?
It's Wanda's magic. It's
Hello?
Can you hear us? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Oh no, she can't hear us.
Hi. The magic. It's the hex, guys.
Damn you, Mephisto.
Oh.
Okay. I think they think I know too much.
Someone
But-
make sure.
I don't know what part you guys.
Can you hear me?
No! No! I can hear
Can
you.
you not hear
guys.
me?
Can you hear me? I
We can hear
you.
Please stand by. Please
Oh,
stand
don't
by
worry.
while we
This
fix
is
this.
going to hit the editing floor, too.
Please stand by.
Disney thinks I know too much.
Tell her to leave and rejoin.
All right. Wait, she's typing something to us. She's sending us a message.
Let her know we can hear her.
Yes.
Okay, because I can hear you guys.
Wait, what? You can hear us?
Yes,
Wait, we can
saying
hear
that this
you and
whole
you
time.
can hear us, so we can hear each other?
Yes, Disney knows too much. They're trying to silence me.
I'm so confused. Wait, you can hear me, right? You can hear what I'm saying.
Yes.
Hey, Disney.
Yes.
Melissa will not be silent.
Okay, when you were asking, when you were saying, like, do you hear me and stuff, we didn't hear you at all. but we could hear you when you were talking, and then you went in and out.
Mm-hmm. She will not go speechless. She will not be speechless.
All right, well,
guys.
Mel, go.
I will not go quietly. Bring it on. I've been right so far. You're just trying to silence me, Disney.
But go back into your thoughts now.
What is going on now? You guys can still hear me, right?
Yes.
We can still hear you.
Okay. So, before Disney silences me again, what I was saying, I don't know what part cut out, but yeah, like, I thought that Pietro where it would make sense, or if his memory was selective, like when he was like remembering back when they used to trick or treat and stuff back in back in their home country. Wanda said she didn't recall it like that at all. And the fact that he knew that Vision was dead, and the fact that they were even together, doesn't make sense, because just like you died before they became a thing. You died before, you died when Ultron was still around, before Vision came into play. So why would this Pietro or this Quicksilver know all this shit when he's been dead for quite some time?
Mephisto.
Well,
Speaking of which,
we all know Mephisto's the thing, but I think they're deliberately throwing red herrings at us, for sure. They're trying to throw the scent off the train. So what happens if we're actually wrong? Because Quicksilver has been this character in the comics and also to different adaptations where he's not necessarily like a good guy. What if he's not Mephisto, which I would be shocked if he wasn't, because hello, Kneale pointed out his hair was literally devil horns, or like could be looked at as devil horns. But what if he's not Mephisto? What if he's working with Mephisto?
didn't see that coming, did you?
I mean, I did pitch that. I also think there's, like, he could be like an agent. I also think there's a chance that Mephisto has possessed the X-Men Quicksilver. Meaning, like, this would basically be the best of both worlds, where it's like, no, he is Mephisto, but also, like, he's actually Evan Peters' Quicksilver. That's why he's acting so weird and rude. It's because he's possessed by the devil.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that. I think basically confirmed at this point there's something going on with Quicksilver. He literally, like, made rude comments towards her dying husband. He has devil horns. He's literally pushing her to keep the reality. Sometimes your brother is just Satan. And that happens. Maybe her brother is just Satan.
Anyone who's ever had a sibling will probably agree with that statement.
I mean, there is technically one other villain who could be playing a role here, who is Nightmare. But at this point, if it's Nightmare, it doesn't make sense. Nightmare fucks with people in their heads. I guess you could argue maybe he's fucking with everyone in Westview and he's just letting Wanda do her own thing, but if that's true, why haven't they showed him yet? It doesn't make sense to keep that like, don't get me wrong, he's a heavy hitter, but compared to, like, Mephisto, he's nothing. So, I don't know.
Right. I think, like, yes, Nightmare is like a big possibility to show up, but it's like what you said, he's not a heavy hitter as much as Mephisto is. So either it's just like, either he's not going to show up until like sometime after the show, or in my opinion, he might not show up in the show at all, especially since, like, yeah, he's not as big of a,
Look,
a main hitter as Mephisto is.
I'm going to be real. There comes a time in every man's life where he has to plant himself like a tree and say, no, you move. I'm saying Mephisto is the villain. There's too much that we have to ignore if Mephisto is not the villain. Quicksilver yelled hell spawns this episode. Earlier, Agnes said that's not the only place the devil is. They know what they're doing. So either this is the biggest troll ever crafted ever, or Mephisto's showing up.
Dun,
And
dun, dun.
I am planting my tree on the side of he's showing up.
That's kind of justified because Quicksilver didn't stealing candy from all the others. I mean, you don't steal from other people. I mean, of course, they were also smashing the pumpkins. They were doing some other mischievous stuff. And people could just pass that off as, oh, they're doing a mischief, ha ha ha. But judging by everything else you said, I think that could be more nuanced proof of that.
It has to be
stupid at this point to not have Mephisto.
It almost feels like a misstep if they don't at least make Mephisto a part of this plot, because Jesus Christ, they have everything. They have Agnes. They have all of this buildup where Quicksilver can't be trusted. He literally has horns on his head and is calling people his hell spawns. I mean, even if it is just Evan Peters is going to be Mephisto, judging by how he acted in this episode, I could see it. Give him red skin and a suit. There you go.
That's where you and I will have like differing opinions at this point. Still talk of there being a big person coming in as a special guest in the MCU. I'm now starting to lean more towards, I don't think it's going to be Mark Hamill. That will be, like, when you said, like, there comes a time with him, in a man's life where he has to make himself grounded and rooted. I think we can all agree that Mephisto coming into the show is a hill that we're all willing to die on. Being like, don't care. It has to happen. There's way too much buildup for it not to. Like, we were even talking about it with, when Cal brought up being like, who else would you think? And being like, there's no physical way anybody else would make sense.
There is technically...
It's not how it's building up.
And I'm being as technical as the word possible is. There is technically one other character who has the ability to do all this. And that is Thanos. If Thanos had the Infinity Gauntlets and the Reality Gems, technically Thanos could do all this. But he's dead as shit.
It wouldn't be a good idea to do.
In a technicality, yes, but we saw it before. Wanda can at least go toe-to-toe with Thanos. But because of how well they're lining it up with the comics, it would just be a slap in the face if they found a way of bringing Thanos back. And being like, yes, technically with all the Infinity Stones, he might make it possible, but that's even stretching that with the power of Gauntlet, especially with Wanda, of being like, we've seen it. Like, if she had a bit of extra time, I'm pretty sure she could have went toe-to-toe with him, or at least, even if she didn't kill him one-on-one, but she could, mop the floor with him, or at least give him something.
Yeah,
I mean,
but especially, like, it's one, out of all the MCU shit, this is the one that's been closest to being pretty much on the nose with the comics that this was based on. There would be no way that it wouldn't be Mephisto. If it wasn't Mephisto, the show just got ruined. It went from being a really good show to shit. So there's no way. But what I'm saying with, like, the Evan Peters thing is, like, yeah, I can see him in red and, like, looking like a little devil for a second. But we still have not seen the special guest that is bound to appear. And a lot of people are starting to theorize that it might not be somebody who's playing Mephisto. It might be other people. But it's just rumors and speculations at this point. But it's just like, Mephisto's going to happen in order to make the show work. It's already lined up too perfectly where comic book nerds and non-comic book nerds alike know Mephisto's coming.
People are
his
learning the name
voice.
Mephisto because of these theories. So if
Yeah.
it's not him, it's going to be weird.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kneale and Mel.
It
Well, I think
it's just like there would if I'm just hoping that because of how the show is and how awesome it is and it keeps us on our toes, and especially with this episode, the most red herrings I think that they'll align up in the show, because like Agnes, for example, like yes, I'm still not ruling out that she possibly could be Agatha, but they're really heavily implying that she's just a victim, like everybody else. Because we've seen now the full effects of her world, of being like, the closer people are to the edge, the more lifeless, the more stuck they are. They're not moving. Like, even that scene, this was my highlight of what got me, was when Vision was wandering more outside of town, and he sees a woman, and she's just standing there, kind of repeating, trying to hand up that stuff. A tear falls on, being like, yeah, each person's going to be different the closer they are to Wanda. I think they're all just like miserable puppets on strings at this point.
Well, I do think, speaking of puppets, speaking of strings, before we go into ratings, there's one last thing to talk about.
I've got no string to go.
On the computer that Darcy is hacking, something pops up that is called Project Cataract. Now, here's the thing.
It's the cataracts.
Project Cataract is so interesting in the fact that it's nothing. Project Cataract is not in the comics, not in the lore at all. It's new. So because of that, I had to Google what a cataract is. And I found out that a cataract is an eye thing. It's something that blocks your vision.
Vision. Yep, that's what it is. I would know.
So, part of me is wondering, okay, there's a plan to somehow get to Wanda through Vision. What could they do? And then my comic book brain goes into storylines. And I'm like, okay, well, is there any time that Vision has been aggressive or evil? And every time, it's somebody fuses him with Ultron. Like, every single time, the two characters fuse. So I'm wondering if Project Cataract is an attempt to turn, somehow using Wanda's psyche and her powers, manipulate it to turn Vision into Ultron. And if that does happen, Ultron's back.
Well, now that you mention that, Ultron did have a way of using the internet to transport his conscious all these different robot minions, to the point where he had this one last robot minion he used to escape when Wanda sucked his heart out and he opted the Vision before Vision destroyed him.
And what else is interesting is, first of all, those are the two characters that did finish Ultron. But also, Vision, even in-game, states there's a little bit of Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, the Mind Stone, and Ultron that make up me.
And Thor.
Meaning, oh yeah, and Thor a little bit. You know what? Fuck it. Thor didn't do shit. He struck him with lightning. He didn't construct him.
Well, Ultron then got his similar-looking cape, and he used the lightning to bring it to life.
That's
and he
like saying
Frankenstein.
That's like saying Frankenstein's monster was Victor Frankenstein is the dad and the lightning bolt is the mom.
Oh God.
Wait,
let's not go into that topic, please.
I went totally brain dead. So why are we saying that Thor was involved with Ultron or Vision?
Because he,
in Age of Ultron,
he used lightning to bring him back. You know,
to create life. To create life.
And he's the one who's like, he is my Vision.
I'm gonna have to go on Kneale's side with this one of being like, yeah, it'd be like saying that Victor Frankenstein's the dad and Lightning is the mom.
That subject. Ooh.
So,
I'm
Vision
just
really
saying,
is.
Ultron's still in there.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if, like, the
I
plot of
guess-
WandaVision and the reason it's important is because Ultron's going to come back as Vision.
I don't know. Weren't we mentioning like another Vision coming to the foreground? Because I don't know if Ultron would come back.
Essentially, cataract is something that blocks out a vision, and I've determined through that they're going to use vision to get to Wanda. So maybe they're going to try and turn him into Ultron, or maybe manipulate her magic into doing it. Because let's face it, if they do turn him into Ultron and then he can't leave Westview, he's just dead. So
Yeah.
that's it. That's the end of the fight. If Ultron
Well,
kills Wanda and then dies himself, I could see how Hayward specifically would be like, this is a good idea.
Well, Vision still has the characteristics worthy to carry Mjolnir from the person who brought him to life. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll just have to see in the future episodes, I guess.
All I have to say again, once again, I have to say something wicked this way comes, and we all better be prepared for it.
I think something wicked is coming a little sooner than ever. I think next episode we will see Mephisto. If he's in the show, it will be next episode.
I don't know. I think that it's either going to be the earliest next episode, latest probably not until closer to the end.
I mean, it
Well,
could
there's
be
only
an
3
end
episodes
credit
left.
scene.
There's only
I was
3
gonna
episodes
That's what I
left.
mean.
I mean, it would be a little bit Doomsday
Which is
Batman
what
v
I'm
Superman
meaning.
if just at the very end it was like, I'm Mephisto and I'm the final boss.
Oh god, not that scene.
But do we want to go into rantings?
Yeah,
Do we
we've
wanna
been doing
go
a lot
into
of
ratings
ranting
now?
lately.
Go rat.
No, rating. Callum, give your rating for this episode.
I got my calculator ready.
What's going on?
We're doing
We're doing
ratings.
rating.
Callum's just being weird.
As
good
I
way.
always
I'm so confused.
In a good way. Down where we all are.
do. As for the episode itself, I would say a 1 rate more than the previous episode. I gave the previous episode like an 8? Yeah.
You gave it an 8.
Yes. I'm going to give this episode a 9 because the stakes have been raised, and this was a genuinely fun episode. I particularly like the joke where they're having a flashback to Sokovian Trick or Treat. They come across this old lady who gives them a fish. That was brilliant. I love that. There are other fun moments like that, as well as some ookily spookily moments that got you on your toes. Yes.
I'm with you, Cal. I'm also giving this a 9. I gave the last episode a 9. I loved seeing the classic costumes. I loved seeing Quicksilver. I loved just how much theory fuel this gave us. But unfortunately, it just keeps giving us questions. I need answers, god damn it.
And that makes the show so addicting.
I know those answers are on the way, but again, it's getting so close to the point where if they don't nail this, if they don't do this perfectly, it's going to ruin the show retroactively. So I'm giving it a 9 for now. That could go down depending on how the episodes go.
Retroactive! Anyway.
Well,
I love that song. My
Nell,
favorite
what's
Imagine
your
Dragons
rating?
song.
Wait, did Sherry or sorry,
I'm still thinking.
Cher and
Cher can go after you.
okay. So I didn't talk about like my feelings towards the episode overall in depth, but I think I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Oh,
Ooh, that's lower.
That can change because, like, okay, as much as I loved, and also to being a 90s child, I love the references. I loved how dark it was. I loved, anything with, like, outside of the world and inside of the world. I loved the, seeing the older costumes, how Pietro is. The only reason I'm having it lower was out of all the episodes, this one had more gaps. And I know they're possibly doing it on purpose. Like, that's why I do agree that if they don't end the show the way that we're all seeing it happen, or at least not bringing in one crucial character, which I feel like the more we bring up his name, the more we have to take shots. But
I'm still too young. I still have about 8 months left until I can do that.
Drink your apple juice, sweetie.
Yes, drink your apple juice. It's okay. But because out of all of them, it still has a lot of gaps that I still had a bit of issue with. So that can change next episode depending on if the gaps are filled by the next episode. So it can go up higher. But right now, I'm going to leave it as a 7.5 out of 10. It's not my favorite episode by far. I still love the fact that it was a Halloween episode. There's a lot of elements I do love about it. I don't hate the episode. Just to me, it felt like the most gappy. But if they're doing it right, I'm hoping that my score will change by the time we talk next. I might change it with this episode next time.
I mean, I feel that. The reason I think I rated it so high is because, like, this episode legit broke me to the point where I'm like, who the fuck is Mephisto? Like, I'm just sitting there, like, screaming. I could see myself in a straitjacket by the end of the show's run.
Oh, no, I do too, because, like, yeah, the episodes come out, 3 o'clock your time, so it comes out 1 ours, like, ever since you mentioned that to me. We've been watching the episodes at exactly 1 o'clock each morning. So that way it's done, it's watched, and I'm ready to talk about it with this, but it's just like there's still a lot of stuff that I felt like it was gappy. I also too, like, especially since it was mostly parroting Malcolm in the Middle, I think out of all the sitcom homages, it was the weakest one. Because it didn't really scream like at first it screamed totally Malcolm in the Middle. And then it just kind of lost it. And I get that they're building up to something more, but it's just like, you guys we still haven't figured it out yet. So to me, it's like, if you're going to keep on with the sitcom way, even just a little bit, I felt like out of all the 90s shows that they did, Malcolm in the Middle is so popular to this day. And it kind of brushed it of being like, yes, like, Vision knows it's, this is a bunch of bullshit. He technically lied to Wanda and almost caught her. That was, like, one of my favorite moments, was he caught her trying to say, being like, you're not supposed to do. I mean, you didn't tell me that you had these plans. And it's just like, yeah, Vision's not putting up with your bullshit, but I just think it's, like, the weakest one so far. Like, yes, it had a lot going on that also broke me too, but out of the setup, and with so many plot holes, which I'm hoping the next one fills it, so my score might change depending on how the next episode is, I have to give it 7.5. You can hit my nostalgia all you want, but if you're going to totally disregard it, man.
I mean, I feel that. I do. Like, part of me wants to be like, this episode is a 0 out of 10 until I know what's going on. But, like,
seeing the story as it is, not get carried away with theories, otherwise it gets disappointing, and then we'll say, oh, that was a show that was all about theorizing, but the story had that much substance. Yeah.
I agree with you, Cal, but I want you to think back to Quicksilver yelling Hellspawn. I want you to look at his demon hair, and I want you to tell me that they aren't flirting with the idea of the devil. Because I'm telling you right now, either they're trolling us or it's him.
No, I agree with that, but yeah, I am kind of a little bit on like Callum's side where it's like I love theorizing. Like I think that was the one thing I loved about the show so far was you could still have substance and still theorize, but I felt like with this episode, it's a lot more theorizing.
So many questions. Where
Yeah.
the fuck is Darcy?
I'm sure the show will provide all the answers in the end, but in the meantime, I'll have to wait until next week.
Well, Cher didn't give her a rating yet. You do.
Yeah.
Wow, this episode was just a lot to take in. I love the Halloween episode. I love dressing up as usual. I love the Malcolm in the Middle stuff, the 90s stuff. I mean, even though I'm not 90s, I'm a 2000s kid. But yeah, that was fun. Now that you guys mention it, maybe it might be Quicksilver. I mean, I guess Agnes wasn't so bad. I just still don't really trust her.
I still think she's evil. We'll see.
We'll just have to see. I disagree, though.
I mean,
I could be wrong.
I didn't realize
I
didn't even realize because actually, I only watched this episode once. I forgot to watch it twice or 3 times, but I'm so busy. So I only watched this episode once, and now that you guys mentioned it, I might have to rewatch it again.
Yeah,
I've watched
Dang.
this episode like 4 times.
Dang.
I've just been sitting there like, where the fuck is Satan?
The stuff with Quicksilver, now that you guys mentioned it, because I'm going to have to rewatch it, but with Quicksilver, yeah, it kind of makes a little too much sense.
At this point, if it's not him, something's gotta be going on, man. I hurt for him.
I mean, honestly, I don't know how I would rate this, because on the one hand, wow, it was great, but on the other hand, I'm so confused on what's going on. What's happening?
Well, you gotta judge the episode on how it made you feel and how you liked it on its own. Don't think about the future. Don't think about what's happening. You can change the rating later. Think about what happened.
Even though I only watched it once.
You can still do it. I believe in you.
I only watched it once. I'm trying to go
There's
back.
a number in your heart, and you can share it with us. It can be low, it can be high. It's okay.
I love the costumes. And
You
gosh, that ending was still so. Oh my gosh, I'm taking a long time.
You gotta do it, Cher. You gotta do it.
Okay. Okay. I'll do 8.5.
All right.
Maybe not 8.5, but I thought you'd pick something along the lines of 8.
I mean, that means together you and Mel collectively gave it a 15.
It's 34.
Oh, 34 altogether. So it's actually a degree lower than last episode. I thought it was going to be higher.
Is it just me, or is this whole show as a whole so far a 34 out of 40?
I mean,
think
this whole show...
as a show,
Episode 3 was the lowest score that we gave.
I personally think that overall as a show, I think it's like maybe closer to like 38 or 39 so far, but that can change. And like I said, like my score I know would probably change in the next episode. So the 7.5 for me with this one might change how the episode would be. So keep that in mind, because I'm not really setting on that fully until the next episode, but who knows, I might stand my ground with it.
The issue I'm facing here, Callum, is the fact that all of these episodes are building towards something. And if what they're building towards is not good, then these episodes wasted their time.
Yeah.
That is the issue that is being faced here. So in the end, I am loving the episodes, I am loving the style, I am loving the humor. If it doesn't stick the landing, it's going down. And it's going down hard.
Right.
It'll be pretty much all for nothing.
Pretty much.
Although a defense could be made that there are some shows and bits of media where the journey was more worth it than the actual destination. I have several stories that had that sort of effect.
I think that's a fair point, but with how Marvel has been, this, if it doesn't go well, like what Kneale and the rest of us are fearing, is that this could possibly, like, kind of similar to what happened to Star Wars, and I mentioned this in the beginning. What happened with Star Wars with the individual or the side story movies got destroyed because of Solo. Yes, they were able to improvise of being like, okay, no more side story movies. Solo fucked it up. We're gonna go to shows now. With Marvel though, it's a little bit different. It's, if this fucks up, this might ruin potential projects in the future. Like, even though yes, building up to possibly having Miss Marvel come into the fray, if this show doesn't stick the landing, that can ruin having Miss Marvel in the fray.
And it would be a shame.
Oh,
Sorry. Were you?
Sorry. But that's why this shows it's not as flexible as like Star Wars, because like Disney only bought off the Star Wars franchise a little bit ago, and the only successful thing that it's really come out with is The Mandalorian.
Even the people who like the Star Wars sequels will admit that, yeah, Mandalorian is far superior, yeah.
Well, that's a different subject for another day, but it's had years before Disney bought it, and same a little bit with Marvel too, but they didn't get that much of a head start because of the early 2000s like era of superhero movies was not a good start, and the MCU was the first one to break it and actually make like actual good superhero movies. So there's a lot to write on the show. There is a lot. Like, yes, like there are those examples, but this one's setting up for a totally different phase.
Mephisto killed my phone.
Wait, what?
Dorothy continues.
I'm back. I lagged out for a little bit.
Oh, Disney was trying to shut you up too, huh?
Nah, Mephisto got my phone, bro.
Oh no. I hope I'm not next.
I suppose people have latched onto this narrative because this narrative works really well in the format of a television format. There's these brilliant benefits through all these mediums. With books, you get the art of words. With film, the art of visual. With television, you get the art of structured stories that can take the time to build the characters and the scenarios and can engage you in what's going to happen next time, and so on and so forth. And even if it's a limited series, they can be concise in that sort of format, like in WandaVision.
And what's neat is it looks like Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki are going to be completely different. And I am super excited to see how that pans out. But I believe we are at the tail end now. So I'd like to thank everybody who watched. I'd like to thank these beautiful people who joined me.
Happy early Halloween and happy Valentine's Day at the same time.
Happy
both of those things. Happy birthday, Tara Strong.
Happy birthday, Tara Strong! Oh, I actually went on my Twitter this morning and I actually posted. I don't know if she replied back, but I posted on Twitter, and that's probably the only time I'm going to be posting.
Lovely, though. So thank you all for watching, and please stay tuned because we are finishing WandaVision, and then some of us may be going into Falcon and Winter Soldier. You know what happened? Where did you go? Sorry, I just saw the message. I died. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Caleb, say something funny and end it.
Mephisto, watch out for Mephisto. Mephisto.
And all of our info that if you want to reach us will be found in the description below.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, Callum, say something funny.
Disney capitalism, yo!
Oh no.
Mickey, are you Mephisto?
Mickey's Mephisto!
Good night, everybody.
Everybody's Mephisto! I'm Mephisto. You're Mephisto. Mickey's
Good night,
Mephisto.
I'm out.
No
Peace.
wonder I've
I'm
been
out.
corrupted.
I'm out.
Everywhere you look, everywhere you look. He
You
actually laughed.
corrupted me? Oh no.
He actually laughed.
No wonder I've been corrupted.
I scared him away with Mickey Mouse. I mean, I think this to him.
Oh my goodness.
Well, good night, everybody. Bye.
Bum.
Happy birthday, Tara.
And stop.